What's going on, Q Crew? Welcome back to another dosage of Q Pilled, and in this dose right here, Dr. Umar Johnson states that the reason black men marry outside of their race is because of self-hate. But before we react to the video, y'all already know the drill. Hit that like, share, subscribe button, turn on your notifications, and share this content with your family, your friends, your colleagues, and your peers so they can get a dose of the Q Pill as well. Let's do this shit. Now, for those of you who have been following me for a while, you guys know that I'm not a fan of Dr. Umar Johnson. And the reason I'm not a fan of Dr. Umar Johnson is because he allows his activist values to compromise his objectivity in the field of psychology. That's why. He doesn't give the proper explanations that he should have learned, or at least should have learned the steps of how to do it when he studied psychology. No, he goes out on a limb to give it his own twist, contorts the narratives, makes it about race, eugenics, white supremacy, all this other bullshit that takes accountability away from individuals and basically considers the black community a monolith, which we are not. I want you guys to take a look at this clip of him providing his explanation, his opinion, essentially, on why black men marry outside their race.
In America, black men marry outside their race more than the men of every other race put together in the United States marries outside of theirs, speaking of percentages. What is it about the black man that has him so addicted to any other woman except his own? And it is the psychology of self-hatred. I look in the mirror and I don't like the way Umar Johnson looks. I definitely don't want my son or daughter resembling me. So what I'm going to do is conduct my own eugenics experiment. And I'm going to find a woman who has nothing in common with the women of my race. So when I look at my children, I don't have to see my black face. And added to this is the fact that black women in America are the least likely to get married. Black women, only 1 out of 4 will get married. When I went to college, most of the white girls were married before we graduated. The black girls, some of them in their 40s, still not married. Most of this has to do with America's war against the black man that incarcerates and exterminates. But some of this also have to do with the fact that us educated black men, once we get our doctorate degrees, our advanced master's degrees, we think we're too good for the black woman, and we run out and go marry someone else's daughter.
So you guys heard his explanation there. The first thing he was correct on, that black men marry outside their race at a higher rate than other cultures in America combined. That's true. And the fact that the majority of black women are unmarried. Only 1 in 4 black women will be married. That's true as well. However, he attributes this to skin complexion alone. Univariate. The reason being that black men marry outside their race is because when they look in the mirror, they don't want to give themselves a son that looks like them. The first piece of evidence that we have that falsifies this retarded ass idea is the fact that there's a 75% single motherhood rate in the black community, as well as the highest abortion rates. But the 75% single motherhood rate, when you look at a single black mother and you look at her kids, most of them are black, which means their father is black, which means a black man engaged in coitus with a black woman unprotected and gave her a child. He gave her a child. So clearly black men are attracted to black women because black men sleep with black women every day. So that's number one. The second thing is, okay, black men who get their masters and their doctorates, they think they're too good for the black woman. Well, first of all, the majority of black men don't have masters or doctorate degrees. They actually account for a very minuscule percentage of the black population, especially of black men. So let's say they do marry outside. You're talking about a statistically insignificant amount of men who have dated outside, married outside their race. They in no way, shape, fashion, or form skew the data towards black men marrying outside their race. They're statistically insignificant. Then it's not enough. Then let's look at it even further. The black men who do obtain their master's and doctorate degrees, well, they're in college for some years because you have to do some more college after your undergraduate studies. Which means by the time that they have graduated, by the time they have got their master or doctorate, they're in their mid 30s, early 40s. Most of the black women their age have kids, are single mothers. Many have multiple baby daddies. They're overweight. They have emotional baggage. They've been ran through. And that's not a high quality mate choice for a guy who's just put himself in a rather well situation in his life to provide for a family. The last choice that a man would want to choose is the woman with multiple kids who's overweight and who's past the wall, who's out of her sexual prime. So that's another factor in this equation. Then we take it a step further and we look at, well, what's going on the black woman's end? Well, if you guys look at my page, you scroll down, you guys will actually see videos, social experiments, interviews of people asking black women, do they want to be married? Those black women's responses, hell nah, that shit for the motherfucking birds. Nah, I don't do no marriage. 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 Nah, I don't want to be married. I don't want to be married. But there'll be single mothers in a heartbeat. There's actual black women who admitted that they would rather be single mothers than married. So when you factor in the fact that black women themselves don't value don't value marriage as much as they value single motherhood, if a black woman doesn't want to be married, why on earth would a black man choose to marry her? Why would he do that to himself? Why would he put himself in a situation to be rejected or to be with a woman who simply does not value what it takes to be married? Why would he do that? And this can, once again, be attributed to further studies because they did a qualitative study where they actually asked black men, why do they believe that black women are the least desired group of women, the least likely to be married, and the least likely to be remarried? And the very first answer, the black men said, it's black women's attitudes, the masculinity, the emasculation, the being stubborn, being difficult, being combative. No desire to be interdependent or submissive or cooperative or friendly or sweet. So they're talking about character flaws within black women as a community that they see that is so prevalent that it's generalizable. Oh, and we can see it in everyday life as well. So when you factor that into the equation, you see why it becomes even more difficult for a black man to choose to marry a black woman. These are the things we have to insert into the equation because that's how equations work. You exchange one variable for another to see if it modifies the outcome. Well, Dr. Umar Johnson put the variable of skin complexion into the equation, and we see that that doesn't stop black men from mating with black women. That doesn't stop black men from giving black women black babies. Okay, so then we look at, well, what does it take to be married? Well, marriage, that's different than fucking. That's an actual commitment that you have to make to a woman. A man has to get down on one knee and ask that woman, do you want to be my wife? And that woman has to say yes. And then she has to stand up there and says, through sickness and in health, for better or for worse, till death do us part. But you know who has the highest divorce rates in America as well? Black Americans. You know who initiates divorce at the highest rate? Black women. 30 per 1,000. The highest amongst any other race or ethnicity here in America. So even the black women who do say yes to in sickness and in health, till death do us part, still go back on that for selfish, emotional reasons, because they can't have their way, because they're dissatisfied. They break up their own family. They break up their own opportunity to create generational wealth. They make themselves financially unstable because they opt out of those things. 51.4% of black men have never been married. That means 48.6% of black men are indeed married. The majority of those black men are married to black women. The majority of the divorces that will occur in that 48.6% will be initiated by black women. And it's safe to say that of the 51.4% of black men that aren't married, many of them were raised by single mothers who they themselves didn't value marriage. So the sons have nothing to go off of. They have no example set for them of what marriage should look like. What type of woman should be a wife and who he should marry. But I can tell you they can identify what they don't want to be married to, the way a lot of their mothers behave. See, it's a really simple breakdown, and you don't have to be a rocket scientist or clinical psychologist to understand these evident, obvious realities. Because commitment for a man is as risky as sex is for a woman. Women have to be super selective about who they have sex with and who they allow to impregnate them. Men have to be just as selective about who they attempt to spend their life with and commit to, get down on one knee for and give a ring to. Because I can tell you right now, the black community is not going to have his back when she opts for a divorce and takes everything that he has. The black community is not going to pay him. The black community is not going to be there for his experiences with his children. The black community is not going to be there to help him resolve issues with his wife. The black community is not going to be there day in and day out in his everyday life experiences that he has with his wife and his kids. He's all on his own. So he needs to make a decision that's best for him based on what he perceives is going to be the most the path of least resistance in making it work, in developing, maintaining, and sustaining a healthy relationship, and promoting relationship longevity and optimizing relationship satisfaction. And a lot of black women don't have the values or the mentalities or the attitudes that align with those desires. It has nothing to do with skin complexion. You see, if we took a black woman's femininity and inserted it into that equation and we turned that up, we turned up her friendliness, we turned up her submissiveness, we turned up her interdependence, we turned up her desire to be a wife, and turned down her desire to be chase careers, chase her income, chase her degrees, turn down that masculine attitude, turn down that combativeness, turn down that stubbornness, turn down that disagreeableness, we would see that black women would see an increase in desirability as long-term partners. We would see an increase in the marriage rate of black women, a decrease in the divorce rate of black women, a decrease in the initiation of divorces in black women. And we'd also see other races opting to marry black women as well as black men. We would see an increase in those things if we were to take these character traits, these attitudes, these mentalities, these values, and insert them into the equation and turn them up in a positive direction and turn down the negative things that are negatively associated with relationship satisfaction. We would see black women fare better than what they currently do. As I said, you don't have to be a rocket scientist or a clinical psychologist to understand these evident realities, as long as you know a little bit of psychology and you understand that attraction and self-preservation are the two most visceral and dominant factors in this equation. Not a sense of community at the expense of my sanity. Not pleasing the community when I can lose everything by marrying this woman. I could go to prison or end up dead at the hands of a woman. So men have to be extremely calculated in vetting women, in committing to women. And black women are not the most popular woman to commit to because they don't exemplify or exhibit the qualities that you want in a woman to develop a healthy relationship. Again, I said nothing about skin complexion. And all you have to do is pay attention to the reality that they still get dick. They still copulate with black women. Black men still copulate with black women. They still procreate with black women. So the attraction is there. It's a matter of the long-term commitment factors that have to be present as well for us to want to marry black women. And they just aren't there. You can push the pro-black narrative, oh, white supremacy, blame everything else. But at the end of the day, we want to talk about the man in the mirror. We want to talk about looking in the mirror. The reason black women are the least desired is because of those women in the mirror. Because if black men can go marry other races of women, then that means other races of women still find black men desirable, because black men can still be the masculine men that they are and operate in a way that women are still attracted to outside of black women. Black women cannot exercise that same degree of desirability. That's why they're the least desired race of women overall, and the least desired group overall, even less desirable than black men. So if we want to figure out why it is black men marry outside their race, you simply just turn to how black women act, how they perceive marriage, how they behave, what they value. The answer is all in those traits, not in how they look. And that's the reality that a lot of the black community, especially the pro-blacks, need to understand and learn to accept, because that's the reality. I'm Suave Q, aka the Q Pill. I appreciate you guys tuning in. I'll see y'all on the next dose of Q Pill. Over and out.